Hey everybody, Nicky Clark here from Body Solutions London, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about why your weight fluctuates. Now it's really common that you step on the scale, see it go up a little bit and then freak out because you think you put on body fat even though you're doing everything right and you think the scale should be going down. Now the reality is that your weight will fluctuate for a variety of different reasons, and not only if you've gained body fat. In fact, it is very common that your weight will fluctuate up and down over time. Of course, if you're trying to lose weight, there should be a downward trend overall, but little spikes and little fluctuations are 100% normal. And in this video, I'm going to explain to you why you see those little spikes. So one of the main reasons is water retention. Okay, water obviously weighs quite a bit, and there are several reasons why you retain water. But if you step on the scale one day and you see it spike up by a kilo or a couple of kilos, it's really unlikely that there's anything to do with body fat, and much more likely that it's something to do with you retaining more water. Now, people will retain water for a number of different reasons. It could be down to some medication that you're on. It could be that you've eaten a saltier meal. Like when you take in sodium, you tend to retain water because of that. So if you've eaten a lot more sodium that day than you normally would, perhaps you've had a meal that contains something like pork or bacon or something that is high in salt, you're likely to retain some more water. Similarly, if you see the weight drop down, if you see a big drop in scale weight from one day to the next, it may be that you ate less salt or less sodium that day than you normally would. So sodium will play a big role in retaining water and weight fluctuations. Now, a big one for women is time in the month. Your cycle or your monthly cycle will again cause you to retain water. It's not uncommon for women in the week either leading up or during their period to retain almost 2 to 4 kilos of water. Now obviously it varies from woman to woman, but if you know that each month that you're likely to retain water and you see your weight go up or spike up in and around the time of the month, then you can pretty much be guaranteed that it's something to do with you retaining water and nothing to do with body fat. So don't stress, that's a really common one for women to go through. What I coach my clients to do is to track their weight in and around the time of the month for several months in a row to see if they can see a pattern. Because if you know if it's coming, if you know that you're due on and you know that you're likely to retain water because that's the pattern that there's been for previous months, then there's no need to stress. Don't go into it thinking that you've put on a load of body fat, because it's more than likely just water. Now, another big factor is the time of the day that you weigh yourself. Now, I advise all my clients to weigh themselves at the same time of the day. I advise them to get up, go to the toilet and weigh themselves straight away, because that for me is the time of the day when you're going to get more consistent results. But if you were to weigh yourself at slightly different times, then it could affect the number on the scale. Definitely if you weigh yourself one morning and weigh yourself later on in the day, you're likely to weigh a couple of kilos heavier. During the day, obviously you'll eat food and the accumulation of food will be in your stomach and will be in your system, and you're likely to weigh more. Even if you weigh yourself every single morning, but the time that you weigh yourself is slightly different from one day to the next. Like for instance, I weigh myself normally about sort of 6 or 7 in the morning, but sometimes I have to get up earlier than that for work. So it might be that I weigh myself at 4 or 5. Now the weight will be different from one day to the next. It's not necessarily that I've put on any body fat. It's just that I weigh different at different times of the day. So try and be consistent with the time that you weigh yourself. And if you can't, if you're weighing yourself at a slightly different time, just bear that in mind and take that into the context of what the number says. Last but not least, the amount or number of carbohydrates you have per day will affect your weight. Now, carbohydrates, when they're broken down, are stored in the body as glycogen. Your body will store glycogen within muscle cells and within the liver. Now, if you go on a particularly low calorie diet or a period when you're not eating many carbohydrates, you'll drop a lot of weight quite quickly. Yeah, anything again from sort of up to 4 kilos for some people within the space of a couple of weeks, because the glycogen within your body will use that glycogen as an energy source, and you won't have much glycogen within the body. Now, if you were then to have a really carb heavy meal, your glycogen store, your body will break it down, your glycogen stores would fill up within, again, your muscles and liver, and you'd weigh more. It doesn't necessarily mean that you've put on body fat, it just means that you've eating more carbohydrate-based food. Now that's not to say that you shouldn't eat carbohydrate-based food, you 100% should. All my clients will have it as part of their diet. It's just good to understand that you can change the number on the scale. That's not necessarily mean it's going to be anything to do with body fat. Now, I think it's really important just to understand that weighing yourself and on the scale it's a tool. It's something to give us feedback of how a nutrition plan or a training plan or both are going. It's not the be all and end all. you are going to see fluctuations. You're going to see your weight go up and down. That is completely normal. Again, you should see a downward trend overall over time if weight loss is your goal. But understand that there will be fluctuations. You'll also want to take tape measurements from different points around the body to check the circumference of things like your arms, your thighs, your hips, your waist, to get an idea of how that is being affected. Obviously, if weight loss is your goal, those numbers should be coming down. You should start to see differences in the photos. You should start to see differences in the way your clothes fit, and the scale should be going down. But just to take the scale weight alone, you're never really going to get the sort of feedback that you need in order to make a completely subjective decision on what you're supposed to be doing with your diet next. If, for instance, you're taking all those measurements and your measurements are staying the same, your weight is staying the same, then we know we need to change something. But if all the measurements are going down, like if you see the tape measurements going down, your clothes are fitting better, the photos are looking better, but your weight is spiked up a little bit one day, maybe it's just that you're retaining more water. I really, really hope this video has helped you. I hope it's helped you to understand that whilst weight can be important, it's feedback for us. And for me as a coach, I use it with all of my clients, but it's not the be all and end all. And there's so many reasons why weight will fluctuate. And don't get freaked out if you see the scale go up, because more than likely, if you're doing everything right, then it will go down again the next day or a few days later. If you found this video helpful, then please share it and comment below with any questions that you have for me. Thank you. Bye-bye.